level executives inside leading and growing companies in the IT and cybersecurity space. Excited to have our guest today, Mike Saylor. We'll be diving into his story, what his company Blackswan Cybersecurity specializes in, and some engaging insights into the cybersecurity industry. So I'll go ahead and kick it off to you, Mike. If you could just introduce yourself, tell a quick snippet of your story and your background prior to starting Blackswan Cyber.
Sure, great, and thanks for having me. So Mike Saylor, I've been in IT and cyber for 30 years. I've also been a college professor for 24 years. I've taught cybersecurity, forensics, incident response, criminal justice, all that good stuff. But I've always been kind of a geek. I started learning how to program in middle school. I took every computer class and summer program I could get my hands on. Was able to get my first computer at a pretty young age, but also, I picked my friends based on the computers they had. And then I think as any true hacker security person, you've got to get kicked out of some electronics store at some point as you're growing up. And so I was banned from a Radio Shack early on. But that really, all that happened before I graduated high school. But even in high school, I was very entrepreneurial. Started several companies, landscaping, computer, keyboard cleaning, whatever you could think of. I was always looking for a way to help, but also, kind of that business sense, which I think I got from my parents. They were very entrepreneurial and had leadership roles in organizations, and so that was a good learning experience for me. And then, right out of high school, I had an opportunity to do some contract work for the government, doing some intelligence stuff, which kind of kickstarted my passion for the cool part of technology and cyber, the cloak and dagger, the sexy stuff. And even though that was kind of few and far between in my career, it was always a driver. It was always something you aspired to have the opportunity to do again. And so that type of work helped fund my college career. So I was able to do other things. Had a football scholarship to a school in Kansas, which, by the way, did not have a very good computer program. So I ended up majoring in archaeology first while I was playing football there. And then I came back to Texas and I went to a community college where my mother was a professor, and they did not have a computer course either. So I majored in my other passion, which is rocks. So there's geology, but I ended up getting a degree in math from that school, and then into a state school, University of Texas at Arlington, had an information systems program, and I went on to get that degree. But all the while also starting another company, my first true computer company, doing training for the brand new Office, Microsoft Office product that no one really knew how to use, doing spreadsheets and PowerPoints and all that good stuff, while also, again, cleaning keyboards and doing the stuff nobody else wants to do. And I've kind of had my own company ever since then. There's 6 different computer companies, including 2 truly cyber companies, with a sprinkling of corporate experience there. I worked for Pricewaterhouse as a director of threat and vulnerability management. I was a national director with other consulting companies building cyber and IT audit, IT risk. I was an auditor for a while for Citigroup and a large telecom. But in almost every role that I had, I always drove emphasis to cybersecurity and the need to improve whether their controls or their people, their training or capabilities. And in some of those cases, actually was chartered to build that organization's first true cyber team. And then also quite a bit of a continuing passion for law enforcement. Starting in 1999, I was working with law enforcement, chasing cyber bad guys, hackers. In 2004, I was recruited by the FBI's cyber team. Ended up not becoming an agent with them, but have continued to work with them on cyber issues, counterterrorism stuff ever since. And I also helped build the North Texas chapter of the FBI's InfraGard program, which I've been a member of now for about 24 years, including some leadership roles like sector chief and president of the chapter, that kind of thing. Which then obviously led to having to, the Secret Service and the FBI compete quite a bit. So they obviously wanted me to help them. So there's an electronic crimes task force in North Texas, which I also am an active member of on the Secret Service side. And then collectively, there's a North Texas Crime Commission made up of all aspects of law enforcement, state, local, federal. And so I'm on their cybercrime committee. And from that, I was then appointed as a fusion liaison officer with the North Texas Fusion Center, which is run by the Collin County Sheriff's Department. And all of those things really truly benefit not only my career advancement and helping me stay in touch with what's going on in the real world, but it's also a value to the people that we help, because all that intelligence comes in as, what's evolving as threats and what are the current threats and how do we identify and address this stuff. And so because of my involvement in all those organizations, we're able to use those to educate and inform our clients and people in the community to try and get ahead of what the bad guys are doing. Along the way, and because of my involvement with law enforcement, I decided to get a graduate degree in criminal justice. And the idea there was not just becoming more familiar with that part of the world I've come to live in, but also so that I could teach it. And so teaching and sharing, collaborating is a passion of mine. So I started teaching in 1999 at the same community college I started out at. But then I've gone on to build the cybersecurity programs at a couple of North Texas colleges and universities. And I currently teach at the University of Texas at San Antonio, cybersecurity and forensics. But that graduate degree in law enforcement also helped me teach criminal justice classes at the University of North Texas, so that I could help those people that are going into law enforcement, that are getting those criminal justice degrees for that reason, understand the cyber aspect of criminal justice, like the cyber criminal mindset, and the things that they need to be aware of in law enforcement or going into public defenders or some litigation role, to better prepare them for those types of scenarios, instead of just the traditional, that was a burglary or carjacking or something like that. It's a different world. And so I enjoyed that, and I continue to do that kind of work. And now I'm currently working on my doctorate. It's a business degree, but it's really a focus on information security and counterterrorism. I just finished my case study, and hopefully I'll be wrapping that dissertation up over the next couple of weeks. But and then continuing to teach, which is something I hope to do as I retire out of this field, is just continue to teach and help build up and bring up the next generation.
That's amazing, man. Yeah, you have quite the extensive background, man. Sure, the all those different companies that you've even started, the different experience you have working with the law enforcement. It's probably giving you so much knowledge in terms of cybersecurity and kind of the ongoing threats that are kind of up and coming. So I did want to ask you in terms of obviously you've been in the industry for a while. You've been diving into different companies, and now you have your own company. What would you say are some of the trends that you're maybe seeing that are emerging right now in terms of threat actors inside the cybersecurity space that you wanted to maybe educate the audience on and talk a little bit about?
Well, I think something that's very prevalent today is the topic of artificial intelligence,
Yeah.
and so everybody's kind of like the next bandwagon, and whether it's people trying to figure out how do I use our AI in our business or in our work, or people that are concerned about AI. Actually, there's another bucket too. So second is people that are concerned about AI's potential effect on the risk to them. So how is AI being used by threat actors to attack companies today. And then the last bucket is something that we're seeing a lot on the service side. Our service, as an example, at Black Swan, where we're monitoring and providing security to clients. They want to know how we are incorporating AI and machine learning into our service so that it can be better at detecting those new threats and staying kind of current with what they think is happening out there with regard to AI and threats. So that's one big thing, the AI bandwagon. But just kind of continuing on that thought, AI is making a difference on both sides. AI is really helping threat actors, one, be more efficient in creating their attacks and collecting information about people and targets. It's helping them become more grammatically correct in a lot of the emails that we
Yep.
traditionally would go, well, that obviously isn't how Bob talks, and there's missing grammar here, and he's so they would. So bad grammar used to be a good indicator that you've got a spam or a phishing email, but now AI is helping even people that where English isn't their first language. The email and the grammar looks better, but also on the good guys side, on the defensive side, AI is helping better detect those types of threats, but also, given a body of knowledge, a baseline, AI is in machine learning is really quick to go, hey, that's weird, that hasn't happened before, or that's just different. So uh, something to be concerned about or suggest to be more diligent with. But really, on all of the other trends, really there's not much change as far as cyber threats go. AI is really just a force multiplier that's helping facilitate all the other stuff that bad guys have been doing for a while. Looking for vulnerabilities, doing the research, finding out, does this and that work, collecting the information on targets. All that other stuff is really not changed. But what we're going to see, because AI has helped facilitate the more timely and efficient collection of all that data, we're going to see, I think, an uptick in the volume of those different types of attacks that we've been seeing, because bad guys are now able to do more with AI. That automated tool that helps them do all that collection and campaign development and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree with you on that. I think that's something that, has been on the rise. And I think even to that point as well, the whole business email compromise, right? In terms of, you know, most of these threat actors, I think, no matter how good your defenses are at the end of the day, I think, what is it, like 90 to 95% of cyber attacks are usually from a phishing email, right? It's all human error at the end of the day. So it's always uh, the best thing I feel like in almost combat these things is having that human firewall, right? Making sure that people are, educated not to click on links, not to, send random invoices, so it's definitely the education side is what I feel like is going to be able to combat those at threat actors. But like you said, they're getting so sophisticated now, they're being able to write these emails that it's getting, you're almost like, where is this going to be able to go? How far are they going to be able to kind of take this, right? And that's the scary part. But like to your point as well, we also have AI where we can use it as a defense mechanism as well. So I'm glad you kind of touched on both parts of it. It's not all doom and gloom, right?
Right.
um, I did kind of want to segue now into, talking a little bit about what you guys are building over there at Black Swan Cyber. And I kind of want you just have, to tell the audience a little bit about your company and what you guys are doing.
Sure. So one of the things that we wanted to do with Black Swan, and it's again, it's not my first cybersecurity company, and I say it's mine, but it's not. It was a group of amazing people that came together to form Black Swan. But traditional cybersecurity companies, particularly managed security service providers, they're just a collector of information that do the analysis and then tell you when something bad happens and then wish you luck. It's kind of like the security guard. The bank's getting robbed and they go, hey, the bank's getting robbed, but they don't really step in and typically try to stop the bank from getting robbed. So they're the security monitor, and that's usually what MSSPs, that's what their roles traditionally are. And in facilitating that role, they have a facility called the Security Operations Center. Um, at Black Swan, we kind of evolved not just the concept of the Security Operations Center, but also the services that we provide and the inputs that we have. And so Black Swan in general is a full life cycle cybersecurity company. In other words, if it's cyber, we probably do it. So anywhere from organizations that have no idea what to do about cyber, so we help them build strategy and identify their objectives and what they need to achieve. Help them identify the right resources, people, technology, put the processes in place, and whether they want to, build it internally or outsource it or some hybrid. We help them figure that out. Well, then naturally, as a part of that, all right, cyber is mostly incorporated into other standards. Like if you accept payment, credit cards, there's PCI. If you have health data, that's HIPAA. If you are a financial institution, that's FDIC or FFIEC or credit union regulations. Or if you're publicly traded, there's Sarbanes-Oxley. There's all these things that have a cyber component. And if you're already unfamiliar or uncomfortable with cyber, then well, how are you possibly going to be able to know what to do with regard to these other things that you've got to comply with? So we help map that. So whether you have it or we help you develop it, well, all right, well, how does that then address these compliance or regulatory requirements? And the next the next phase of that is, well, let's document all that. Let's show that you've got the right things in place and that they're effective, so that if you are audited, you've got evidence, you've got your toolbox that says, no, we're good. We had a third party do this, and this is how how we fared. And then we are obviously the liaison, the liaison between the organization and those regulators. Well, then whether we audit them or someone else does, very often there's some deficiencies that fall out of that exercise that need to be remediated, and we're capable of helping fix that problem. Update that procedure, implement something new, figure out another capability, um, review an architecture to fix a problem. So that remediation piece is often an area that we're asked to help with. All right, so then we've implemented these new things, or this environment's changed, and now we've got to educate uh, our company, our people on that change. And so whether it's that type of training or annual or periodic cyber awareness training or something specific, we're able to develop and deliver training to organizations on just a variety of topics. All right, so then we go into the traditional stuff, the network, vulnerability scans and hacking into organizations, and we even can go a step further with the physical stuff, where we're actually attempting to infiltrate secure facilities or restricted areas within a building, in order to collect what we call trophies. An organization says, I've got these, my treasure chest is in Bob's office in a secure facility that's, nobody knows where it is, and can we get there and make it out with the treasure? So we call that a red team exercise, where kind of anything goes. And so we're hacking the network, we're breaking into buildings, we're accessing things we shouldn't, in order to help an organization truly understand the effectiveness of their physical and IT security controls. And then from that, obviously, back to the remediation piece. And then whenever there is a problem, we have an incident response team. So if an organization's getting hacked or infected with ransomware, or they're concerned with an employee taking data, uh, any number of true incidents, we're able to respond and help them address those incidents, work with law enforcement if we need to, work with external legal counsel, work with insurance companies, pull in other partners. Maybe there's part of our team that can't satisfy one of these incident response objectives. We're able to find the right people and solutions to bring to the table. And then part of that is forensics, obviously, whether it's forensics as part of an incident or forensics as part of a lawsuit, or data recovery. We've got a forensics team and a lab that does that. But at the core of our company, I mentioned Security Operations Center, and we've evolved that, going full circle here. We call our facility a fusion center. So it's a cyber fusion center. And it's a fusion because it's not just we're not just collecting data from our clients to help them understand, where weird things are happening or bad things are happening, and then helping them respond to those. Um, we take it a step further because our fusion center is staffed with all of the people that I just mentioned. So auditors, virtual CISOs, executives, penetration testers, engineers, educators, advisors, forensics, all those people are accessible from one facility with one phone call. So regardless of what the incident is, we've got the resources and the experience and the skills to help a client work through the resolution, or if they need us to escalate um, internally to help them actually take resolution, we will do that. But the Fusion Center also fuses information. So I mentioned all those different groups that we're a part of. So we're getting threat intelligence feeds from dozens of places, whether it's because of our relationship with those fusion centers and information sharing analysis centers, or if it's a subscription that we pay for, or a product that vendor that we're a vendor that we're partners with. So we're getting their information as well. So it truly is a fusion of intelligence in data we're collecting in, but also the availability of our team to deploy outward all of those skills and capabilities that Black Swan can do.
Got it. Yeah. Well, it sounds like you guys definitely have a comprehensive suite of products, and it's definitely interesting to kind of hear that fusion center that you guys do. I think that's something unique. I haven't really heard that before in the industry, so it's definitely something that I see your probably clients get a lot of value from. I'm glad that you kind of touched on all those topics and touched on what you guys do. What would you, you guys obviously offer a lot of different services. If you kind of had to pinpoint exactly where you think clients are getting that most value from when they work with you, what would you say that element is of your service offering?
So I think the two critical pieces of our value, well, there's probably three. Um, there's probably a lot, but I'll touch on three.
Yeah.
So I think the experience that we bring to the table, we're not a cybersecurity company that was started by some business investor person that is just going to build this and sell it or merge it with somebody else. We're a company that was started by veterans in IT and cyber. So whether it's me, our chief operating officer, our chief financial officer, our VPs, our leadership team, any one of us can bring value to a conversation related to IT or cyber. And that's from risk and governance to operations and response and all these things. So I think that's a huge value just in the, I guess, average tenure of the people in our company. We've seen it. We've been there. We've got the challenge coins on the wall. Um, so that's probably the biggest thing. The next thing is our services. Not only, and there's probably two primary services. One's that advisory governance, like help us figure this out. Um, we have a question and we don't know who else to call. There's we want to be that phone call. And then lastly, it's our service around monitoring and response. We understand that there's very rarely one answer to a cyber problem. And so when a client calls us to say, I have a problem, we always start with listening. Well, what is your problem? And we will invest time and energy and resources, even if we already think that the solution doesn't even involve us.
Mm.
We're on that call because of who we know and our relationships with others and our willingness to find the solution. And during that call, even if it's not something that we can be successful at, we want to help find the right solution for that client. So we'll start pulling in other people, the right people, until we figure it out. And that'll come back to us, and it usually does at some other point. The client says, hey, you helped me with that other thing, a year ago or a month ago, and now we need this other thing, and hopefully that's something you guys can help us with, and so on. And so I think those are probably the biggest three things are the leadership and tenure of our people, the quality and collaborative nature of our service, and the fact that we're always looking for the right solution, even if it doesn't include us.
Yeah. And that's so important. I feel like a lot of, businesses forget that when you are working with those experienced people who do have experience in the industry, who have been in the industry, you can have the best tools in the world, right? But if you're not having the right personnel behind them, if you're not having the right team behind them, you're gonna be missing a lot. So I think that that's an important part of what you said, and I love that you kind of referenced that as the number one thing that you guys offer, because I think that experience over everything is what's gonna help you triumph over any type of challenges that a client may face, right? Um, I did kind of want to now segue into picking your brain a little bit as the CEO and as the founder of Black Swan, and kind of wanted to ask you a little bit about what were some of the main challenges that kind of came with and maybe the challenges maybe you're still facing that kind of come with owning and operating a cybersecurity company.
I think a company in general, one of your biggest challenges is finding enough business to help you grow. Keeping the lights on is one thing, but if you're always, looking at your watch to determine when you need to turn the lights off, that's a stressful situation. You'd rather just be in a position to know that you can leave the lights on all day long if you need to. So not just growing, but being comfortable with your growth is always stressful. And for us, for me personally, not just Black Swan, but prior organizations, it was very hard for me to find a good sales and marketing um, program, to truly develop my own ability to standardize my brand and my messaging, and help get that out and raise my brand awareness, while also having either my own skill or finding the right person to help me sell. And so what happened for me over the years, and this is probably over the last 15 years or more, is that I tended to rely on partners and their established sales and marketing, and really just help them understand what I do, and then work together to sell it. And whether it's a subcontract agreement or a referral or profit sharing or whatever, that helped me grow. But it was slower than if it was direct sales, because you're not getting the same margin, you're not getting the same brand recognition, and you're having to rely on partners for opportunities and momentum and that kind of thing. Um, so that was very difficult and challenging, not just for the current company, but prior companies as well. And then lastly, as an entrepreneur, especially if you're starting your own company, especially from scratch, you've got to at some point feel comfortable relinquishing some of the responsibilities, and start to delegate and trust other people. um, so as an example, I mentioned, maybe starting 15 years ago or more, I was the CEO, but I also did all the accounting, and I did everything on spreadsheets, and invoicing and tracking payables and all that good stuff. um, and it probably wasn't until maybe 7 years ago, that I had someone responsible for that, like a true CFO accounting person. Um, and even having started that long ago, it probably wasn't until 4 or 5 years ago that I felt comfortable not worrying about accounting, not worrying about, is the invoicing right, who's paying us, what's our bank balance. I've had to become comfortable relying on and trusting the person in that role to keep me informed, and doing all that stuff right. So it wasn't until, in kind of adding to that, it wasn't until maybe a year ago, a little over a year ago, that we felt comfortable. Black Swan felt comfortable um, investing in a true marketing communications role, to help us with that brand and that consistent messaging, and that goes a long way, believe it or not. Even if everybody called Mike, uh, and said, "So tell me about Black Swan," they would all get some, maybe partially or customized message from me. It wouldn't be consistent. Maybe the theme is consistent, and some of the keywords would be consistent, but I truly listen to them first, and then go, all right, so out of this, potentially 3 hour long description of how great we are, I can narrow this down to 5 minutes because of what you said. And so that those people, having heard, one or more different versions of my elevator pitch would then talk and go, "That's not what Mike told me. It sounds similar, but that's not what he said." And so that consistency in message makes it clearer for the consumer and people, especially as far as marketing goes. But it also makes it easier for me to say the same thing. Here's Mike, here's our consistent message. This is what you need to be telling people. And it's something we all agree on, and it's polished and it sounds good. And so that was helpful. Well, then add to that, now we have the right tools and the messaging and the branding. Now we need to look for our own direct salesperson. Let's try to find the right person. And now they've got the tools they need and the people. We've got this marketing person that can help from a leadership perspective. Go, all right, so you're going to go talk to this client, and you want something customized. Let's work together to put some, a presentation or a marketing slick specific to that event or that meeting. So that's been helpful too. But even in doing so, we still struggled with finding the right salesperson. We went through, I think, three salespeople in the last year and a half or 2 years until we finally found one that we were actually really impressed with, and he's doing well. But prior to this, our current salesperson, our current sales director, prior to him, I kind of swore off salespeople over I think the last one I had was 2011. And just because I'm horrible at understanding what it makes a good salesperson, and how to track their performance and keep them accountable, and I have very high expectations. I should be getting involved in a meeting once a day, 5 days a week. And until recently, that wasn't happening. I mean, even over a 90-day period, I wasn't even getting invited to coffee. So uh, those are probably the biggest stress points for me. Um, Being an entrepreneur and business leader, especially one that, business leader of a company you co-founded, just the delegation and the trust in the people that you put in your roles, um, finding a way to grow independent of partners. Partners help you get off the ground, but to truly grow, you've got to start figuring out how to do it on your own.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree, and I think you touched on a lot of common challenges that I've seen kind of talking to different MSP, whether it be MSSP owner, people inside the IT industry. Is I feel like a lot of the founders and CEOs, and correct me if I'm wrong, but are more often than not technology based founders, right? They're kind of they love the technology side of things, they love the security side of things, whether it be hacking or the cybersecurity, any type of way. When it comes to kind of the sales and marketing side, everyone's like, oh, I hate that part of the business, right? But it's such an essential part, like you said, to kind of be able to grow the business and to be able to continue, prospering as an organization. I'm curious as to, if you could share any advice on. I know you touched on some things, but what would your number one piece of advice be in terms of, or something that you found very helpful in kind of, building out that sales and marketing component of your business?
Well, I think what helped us with this latest hire was that we weren't shy in asking for third party advice.
Mm,
And what I mean by that is, other people that we know that are successful salespeople. Maybe they don't sell cyber. Maybe they sell something else. Well, I attribute sales to some degree to being a manager. If you're a really good manager, you can manage anything. If you're a really good leader, you can lead anything. And so my our thought was, well, let's go talk to some successful salespeople we know. Maybe they're not looking for a job; they're just people we know. And so we said, hey, would you be interested in helping us find the right salespeople, or do you know any good salespeople that you would say this is a good salesperson? And so we kind of took that route, and in some of our interviews with the candidates, we actually invited these friends of ours to contribute. Ask the tough questions. You know more about sales and um, pay schedules for salespeople, whether it's a base and commission and renewals and whatever those those packages are called, and there's some word for it or acronym I can't recall at the moment. But let's get the people that are experienced, more experienced and knowledgeable about those things than us, on the call with these salespeople, so that they can sniff out the truth and the quality, and do they, ask the tough questions like, do you even have a sales strategy? How would you build one? What kind of things are you concerned about? What kind of things would you do, and questions you need to answer, and how can we help you be uh, effective, and kind of on those lines too. When we hire somebody in a new role, we give them ownership of that role. Like, we're not sales and marketing people, so when we hired our marketing leader, we basically told him, like, look, you own this. Don't wait for us to tell you what to do. You are coming to us asking for what you need help with to do what you already know what to do. Like, we need brand awareness, we need social media, this, that, and the other, and messaging. Go do your magic and just tell us what you need from us. Tell us what your budget should be, and we'll have that discussion. Tell us what objectives you want to achieve and how we can hold you accountable, and then we'll have that discussion. Well, we did the same thing with the salesperson. Look, you're going to own this. We're not going to tell you what verticals we want to go after. We're not going to give you a list of clients that we need you to talk to. We're not going to, you need to come to us and tell us what you need to be successful and how we can contribute to that, and the resources and tools and budget you need to satisfy all those things that we agreed to. But you're going to own it. And so at the end of the day, when sales sucks, it's because of you. If our branding sucks and our messaging sucks, it's because of that thing. If our service sucks, it's because of our engineers and our analysts. If our reporting sucks and our advice sucks, it's because of the person that delivered it. Own it. There's a lot of ownership. Leadership is a huge theme in our organization. We teach leadership at fundamental entry level. You got to read books and do presentations on leadership. Leadership is huge, and part of leadership is ownership. Extreme Ownership, in fact, is the name of a book that Jocko Willink, a former Navy SEAL, is on our bookshelf for leadership books. And so, as far as advice goes, especially if it's an area that you don't feel comfortable or don't have enough experience, and maybe concerned about, well, am I defining the role right? Are my salary expectations or my performance expectations right? Find an expert, find somebody and ask the questions. Involve them in your process. Ask them if they would volunteer their time to help you make the right decision. Don't hesitate to reach out. I mean, the worst that's going to happen is they're going to say no. The best that could happen is they're going to go, well, maybe I want to work for you. And now a friend of yours, somebody you already know, that's capable, may be able to help you. And so, kind of long and short of it, talk with the people the people you have relationships with and you already trust, and get advice, and ask if they're willing to help.
Yeah, I think that's amazing advice, and I think that's something that more leaders and more business owners kind of need to take that into account, right? Where you elect the people into your business and you allow them the breathing room and space to be able to lead in their own realm, right? So you want to be able to elect leaders, right, in your own company, and I think that that's super important. And something that I'm kind of realizing now as, like, a business owner and hiring and bringing on new people, I'm kind of starting to see that in my own realm, where it's like, okay, like I have to let go of certain things. I can't do, like you said, I can't do everything. I can't be everything to everyone. So you have to be able to, start to strategize and be able to think smartly about how you want to operate your business. And I think more than anything, the CEO, the founder has to be has to be the person, has to be the leader, has to be able to put people in the right places, right? And that's really what it is. It's like the coach of a team, right? You're coaching, and people's position. You got to put them in the right position in order for them to succeed in the games. And so that's a great point to you. One last question I didn't want to ask. We've had an amazing conversation. I love all the hidden gems you've been dropping throughout this. But this is kind of a loaded question. I always just like to ask to kind of just end the interview. But in terms of your whole career, you've had quite an extensive career. You've done a lot of jobs. You've started a lot of businesses. What is the most important advice that you've learned, or important lessons that you've learned throughout your career and throughout building businesses that you think would be important for the audience to know?
Oh,
Yeah, told you
there's
it was a little.
probably a couple. There's probably a couple. The first thing that comes to mind. The first thing that comes to mind is don't try to do it. Don't try to do everything yourself. And what I mean by that is, you may be the most capable person to do whatever it is you're going to sell or do, but doing that thing is only part of owning and running a business. There's all this other back office stuff that, to your point about being a techie business owner, we don't want to do. Now, in my case, I'm a numbers guy. I like math, and so doing the accounting was fine for me. But it was a time constraint. I was working 22 hours a day. I was doing 8 to 5 work for the client, and then everything after that and before that was back office stuff. And maybe that makes sense for a little while because of your budget or your resources. But ask for help. Find the right person. And don't try to do everything yourself. The other things that I'll contribute is stress and time management. I had horrible problems with stress earlier in my career, and it actually impacted my health. It's probably why I lost all my hair. But you have to adopt the mindset that you can only do what you can do. We I think we first experience this when we start driving and we want to speed because we're late to work. But really, have you analyzed what good speeding actually does? So it may save a minute or two, but you're still going to be late, and you're running the risk of an accident and a ticket and all that other stuff. So the cost benefit just isn't there. Well, then fast forward to your professional career, and you've got all this stuff on your plate. You can only do what you can do, and don't let it impact your health. If you've got 20 hours worth of work and 2 days to do it, you need to call somebody and say, look, something, it's going to be another day or next week, or, a lot of people are going to be understanding. You just need to communicate, reset the expectation, but also ask for help. Is there someone else that can help you do this work and learn from it? I accepted a bunch of work and I need to get it done in a week and it's going to kill me to do it. Well, learn from that. Maybe it's 3 weeks worth of work. Maybe it's a conversation you need to have up front. Maybe it's work you shouldn't have accepted at all. Because the more you stretch yourself, the more the quality gets diminished. And you don't want to be known as the person that's given subpar work because you're not going to get that work again. So be really good at the work you accept, but make sure the work you accept is something that you can accomplish. Um, but you can only do what you can do. I don't know. There's another way of saying it, but
I
I
think,
think that's a
yeah,
better way of saying it. You can only do what you can do. I try to teach my kids that, with stress management and time management. And they're like, oh my God, and look, it life is life, and there's only so many hours in the day and so many years in your life, and it's not worth stressing over. You need to tell somebody, look, I need to readjust. I need to reset expectations, or I can't do it, or whatever the case is. And then probably the last thing that I'll add is leadership is so important. And I think a lot of people think leadership is someone's boss. But there's a couple of good books, and one of them is called The 360-Degree Leader, which teaches you how to be a leader regardless of what your role is. You could be a janitor and be a leader. You could be the lowest person on the totem pole and be a leader. A leader is not a position. A leader is a personality. A leader is action. A leader is initiative. A leader is all these things that just make you a more effective person. And an effective leader is the most valuable leader on any team in any organization. And if you can learn to be an effective leader, you become invaluable not only as a person and in your personal life and your family, but if you're going to start a business, you really need to learn how to be a good leader.
yeah. I mean that's phenomenal advice, man. I think it's so funny because that you even bring that up because I was thinking about the second thing that you brought up was kind of you can only control what you can control. That's kind of what I always say. You can only I think you said you can only do what you can do. It's just very similar aspects. It's because, as I think perfectionists, or as business owners, as people who are, want to do a good job and they want to do everything right. They want to put everything, at least I am. I'm always like, I want to do a good job. I want to do the perfect job I can. But you also have to have that realization where it's like, I'm human, right? It's like, I can only do so much. I can only put so many hours into this. But I think that it should also kind of give you a peace of mind as well, right? Because it's
Right.
like, if I do put everything that I can into this and I do all the things that I can, what else am I able to do? Right.
Hmm.
And you start to realize, like, well, there's not really much else I'm able to do. So even if this thing blows up in my face or whatever goes wrong in this instance, I know, and I kind of have the security of myself where I'm saying, hey, like, I did everything I could do. Right. Like, it's
Right.
often, I don't know if you've ever like watched like UFC, or you are into like fighters at all, but Khabib talks about this a lot, right? He says, he tells his fighters right before they go to fight that he says, listen, I don't care what happens in the cage, because you already controlled what you controlled in terms of the buildup. You did everything possible that you could in terms of your regimen, training, working hard. Whatever happens in the end result, it doesn't matter, because you did everything. You controlled what you can control, right? And so
Yep.
I think that that's kind of a mantra that I've taken on the business, and such a great point that I think a lot of people need if they're going to run a business, because there's that stress management that comes with it. And yeah, so great point. Great interview, man. You've done a phenomenal job. And, I'm glad that people got to hear a little bit about what you guys do at Black Swan Cyber. The last thing I kind of wanted to maybe touch on was, if people want to contact you, or they do want to work with your company, what are some good links for them to go ahead and reach out through?
Sure. So blackswan-cybersecurity.com is the website. 855 BLK Swan is our phone number. But you can reach me at Saylor, Saylor, at blackswan-cybersecurity.com.
Perfect. And I'll include both of those in the description so they can reach out to you if needed. But thanks again, Mike. You did a phenomenal job. And if you guys did make it all the way to the end, we do appreciate you. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more related content. And we hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Ciao.
Okay. Thank you.